This episode of CinemAttack previously aired on the main CinemAttack YouTube channel. Click the link below to see all new episodes and subscribe.
This week on CinemAttack, we're talking who's gonna win big on the Oscars this weekend, our thoughts on a brand new trailer, our review of Die Hard 5, and some recommendations if you're looking for more. My name is Flapperdoodle.
I'm Sean Capdeville.
And I'm Sidesmash.
And you are watching the first episode of CinemAttack. Let's get started. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the first ever episode of CinemAttack. We got a lot of stuff to do, and we're excited to finally start this brand new movie show. So let's get started with the CinemAttack review for A Good Day to Die Hard.
Looking for trouble, or does it always find you?
I still ask myself the same question.
After a nasty political scandal in Moscow, Jack McClane, played by Jai Courtney, is hired by the CIA to help them and stop the scandal from going any further. However, John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, overhears of his son's little escapades and travels to Russia to help him out. Unfortunately, things get out of hand, and John and Jack are forced to work together to stop an underground Russian heist, which becomes more than any of them ever expected.
When I went to see A Good Day to Die Hard, I knew three things about it. This was the fifth installment of the series, that it was set in Moscow, Russia, and that Bob Shipman wouldn't like it. At the time of this recording, I was right about two of those things, and 99% certain about the last one.
I went into this film hoping for explosions and those great one-liners from the incredibly likable everyman hero John McClane. And I gotta be honest here, I was pretty disappointed.
A Good Day to Die Hard just isn't very good. In fact, it's not good. At all. However, that does not mean that the film is awful.
It's actually quite serviceable in a few areas. The acting from good old Bruce Willis is still pretty good, it holds up, and Jai Courtney also does a pretty good job as the son of the legend John McClane, despite the fact the chemistry between them is kinda weak at times. I really wish it was stronger.
The relationship between John McClane and his son Jack, it's actually done okay. I liked a lot of the quieter scenes where the two of them just talked. I mean, John McClane isn't the, talk about our feelings kind of guy, needless to say. So, seeing him try to reconnect with his son and, get his respect back, his trust, his love even, was actually pretty interesting.
However, despite all of those serviceable areas of the film, the movie is plagued with problems from head to toe.
What happened to John McClane? He's a jerk and not likable at all. I got very little enjoyment out of John McClane, except, for those few father-son scenes I mentioned earlier. That is until the climax, and I think that's because he stopped talking and started Bruce Willising.
As for the plot, it's also pretty bad. I mean, the first half is essentially simple and cohesive. It's easy to follow. However, by the second half, a nuclear twist is added into the plot, it begins to unravel, and it fails to make any sense.
Where was the villain? I mean, there are 4 or 5 minor villains instead, none of which are memorable in any way. That's an essential part of the Die Hard formula. Give us a diabolical criminal genius for John to go up against, not bland, throwaway bad guys to absorb his bullets.
The biggest problem with Die Hard 5 is not that its script doesn't respect the audience's intelligence, or the story is really difficult to follow, or that Jai Courtney really needs to stop scowling all the time, or that the film is extremely gray and really uninteresting to look at. Those are issues, yes, but they are nowhere near as important as the biggest of them all. Die Hard 5 is an excellent example of how you fail to write an action movie. And to explain why it fails involves exploring the action genre as a whole. From where I stand, there are 2 specific goals that a screenwriter should strive to achieve when writing an action movie. Since there are no absolute rules on how to make films, I'm just going to call these suggestions. My first suggestion is that an action movie should find a balance between set pieces and exposition. And you know, Die Hard 5 actually succeeds at this pretty well, even though the exposition is pretty bad. So we'll move on. My second suggestion is that action scenes should have a sense of teamwork. By its very definition, action is not created equal. It's inherently chaotic, so attempting to find a balance between action scenes is, in my opinion, an act of retrogression. Because if you try to put all action scenes on the same level, they all mesh together into this forgettable cluster. By contrast, great action movies have smaller set pieces that complement the bigger ones. An exceptional example of this would be Terminator 2. Now, you can totally get away with incorporating set pieces that are around the same level and scope, with something as superficial as an aesthetic change. But in Die Hard 5, most of the action scenes are set in the same area, with the same colorization, and using more or less the same weapon loadout. So they don't stick out from each other. And going back to my original point, the set pieces themselves feel like they're at war with each other, desperately trying to get the audience's attention all for themselves. But since they're all fighting for the same cause, it just feels like friendly fire. This is what I mean by a sense of teamwork. Instead of trying to put a chokehold on the audience's attention, the scenes should be working together not only to win the viewer's attention, but also their approval.
So yeah, well, there's a little John McClane going yippee-ki-yay, the explosions I guess are cool, and there are a few good chuckles here and there. A Good Day to Die Hard kinda sucks. Die Hard is supposed to be the action film. It's the action film that all the dumb action films try to be. In this installment, it became its own wannabe.
Yeah, it sucks that it's the weakest in the entire franchise by far, and this is coming from a huge fan. But I honestly learned a lot from it.
Forget the fact the script, the acting, the chemistry, and the set designs are overall poorly done and mediocre at best. I can forgive that. But the plot fails to stay persistent, and the villain fails to be a true antagonist. In fact, it was hard to even lay down who was the real villain in the movie. There were so many changing plot twists all over the place. But the unavoidable problem is that Die Hard 5 does too much, too quickly in the action department, and fails to have most of it stay truly memorable until the truly fantastic conclusion. It's just so disappointing to see that a Die Hard movie forgets about the most important parts of what a Die Hard film should truly be. Sorry, Die Hard, but it looks like for the first time in the entire franchise, it looks like we're laughing at you, not with you.
A Good Day to Die Hard gets 2 Zvezdas out of 5.
A Good Day to Die Hard gets a 3 out of 10.
A Good Day to Die Hard gets a D+.
Hey guys, and welcome to the very first CinemAttack recommendation, Domination. Every episode we'll be giving you 5 movie recommendations. 2 of these are from the past and are thematically similar to the film we reviewed. 2 others are great movies that are coming to home media very soon. And the last one is a film to look out for when it hits theaters in the very near future. So, my friends, let's get started. First up is Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I already mentioned this in my review, but I need to emphasize how well the action scenes go together when put into a single film reel. There's actual variety in the scope and scale of action scenes. Sometimes it's big, like a chase sequence in a dry canal involving a giant truck, a motorcycle, and a shotgun. But other times it's not as huge, such as a rescue mission inside a psychiatric ward that involves a few fistfights. It's extremely cohesive and, minus a few script problems, one of the finest blockbusters I've ever had the pleasure of watching. And the visual effects hold up extremely well despite the fact that they were programmed about 20 years ago. If I did have one criticism, it would have to go to something that nobody seems to talk about. Most likely because of how bad and unnecessary it is. To put it simply, I wouldn't be surprised if teenager watched T2 right before they started writing the script to Other M. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Again, it's just one issue, but really, it is a black stain on an otherwise amazing film. If you've never seen it, there's never been a better time to do so than now. Next up is Lethal Weapon. While more recent releases like The Last Stand and Bullet to the Head pay tribute to the one-man army action heroes of the 80s, Lethal Weapon, a movie actually from the 80s, is what many consider to be the movie that wrote the book on the buddy cop film. The chemistry between the 2 main characters is what absolutely sells the film, and the screenplay is written to be just as campy as the subject material. Admittedly, I haven't seen the other films, but I definitely recommend the original. Now we come to the present age, and there are 2 awesome movies that are coming out on Blu-ray and DVD in the very near future. Or in our first case, it already has. Sam Mendes' Skyfall is a return to form for the Bond franchise and one of the biggest surprises of last year. I want you to think about this for a second. Sam Mendes has made an entire career out of making dramas and has never ever had an experience with an action-adventure movie in his entire life. And somehow, the planets aligned and he managed to make one of the most impressive Bond films I've ever seen. The addition of an overarching theme, in this case the gap between the days of old and the new modern age, is so well implemented that I'm surprised they didn't start doing this decades ago. It's a winner for the franchise and extremely fitting for the 50th anniversary, both from a qualitative and contextual standpoint. While you've probably heard about the films that I've already mentioned, I'd be very impressed if you were even familiar with Holy Motors. It's a French film that you really can't describe to someone, which is arguably the most powerful aspect of the film medium. All I can really say is that it is one of the best films I saw last year, and without a doubt, the most original and unique film I have ever seen. I honestly can't compare its story, cinematography, or writing, or really anything with any other film I've seen. It's the kind of genius filmmaking you see only once in a blue moon, but its impression really stays with you. Honestly, I don't expect you to love this film. In fact, you just might hate it. But at the very least, you'll find something different about it. Something odd. Something that'll stick with you when you leave the theater or you turn off your DVD player or whatever. There's just something about this film that sticks with you. And honestly, I feel like a better filmmaker because of it. If anything, I recommend Holy Motors to the film students out there, like me. You may not like it, but it's still a great reminder that you don't need to follow any rules in order to make a good film. Sometimes, all you really need is a great imagination. Finally, we have an upcoming release, and today's is one of intrigue simply from the man in the director's chair, Michael Bay. Okay, yeah, he's not one of the most respected filmmakers out there, but I'd argue that he has a very distinctive style, even though it's pretty impersonal. His upcoming film is called Pain and Gain, and if anything is to be learned from the trailer, it may very well be a parody of the macho, pro-American blockbusters with tons of action and muscle men. In other words, it could be a self-parody. Now, if it can pass off its possibly bad dialogue with a joke that everyone, including the audience, is in on, it very well may be one of the funniest films to come out in a while. And wouldn't that be something, huh? A critically acclaimed Michael Bay film. Honestly, I think Michael Bay has become quite aware of his reputation in the film industry. And the time may have come to finally and unabashedly embrace it. You can check out Pain and Gain when it releases on April 23rd. Well, that's all the time we have for Recommendation Domination this time around, my friends. I hope you enjoyed, and remember, the best films you'll ever see, you may not have seen just yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, shapes, and sizes, please gather round. Welcome, one and all, to the first ever CinemAttack Newsreel. As all our cinephiles know, Sunday, February 24th is arguably the biggest night in all of cinema. A time where actors, writers, directors, and producers get recognized for their work year-round. It's when those naked gold men are seen as irreplaceable. It's that time of the year again, the Academy Awards. And not only the 2013 Academy Awards, it is the 85th annual show. Yowza, that is a lot of shows. So in honor of the big night coming up, right around the corner, let's make some predictions and place some bets. Let's begin with the awards where you can smell the winner coming from a mile away. Yes, they are here every Oscar season, so let's knock them out right now. First off, we can definitely see a Best Actor win with Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln, as he quite literally reinvented the character of Lincoln, and this interpretation is arguably the best cinematic representation of him thus far in history. Another inevitable win we can predict is Jennifer Lawrence winning Best Actress for her work in Silver Linings Playbook, as the Academy essentially owes it to her after her being nominated for Winter's Bone previously and losing. Speaking of women doing excellently in a role, I think there's no question that Anne Hathaway will be winning a Best Supporting Actress Oscar for her role in Les Miserables. I don't even think I need to explain on that one. Best Foreign Language Film is easily going to be given to them all, as it is the only foreign film nominated for Best Picture. It definitely is going to win out, no question. Even though it is a smaller category, Best Original Song is looking pretty strongly in the favor of Skyfall by Adele. And just a quick note, if Paperman by John Carter of Pixar doesn't win Best Animated Short Film, some faces will in fact be Falcon Punched. But truthfully, many of these awards are a very, very close race to see who will win, especially Best Picture, as any of the 9 films selected can be winners. We can get an underdog win from Beast of the Southern Wild, or a more, or we can get a surprise like Silver Linings Playbook. But in all honesty, the Academy will probably play this by the book and will choose a movie like Django Unchained or Lincoln, or possibly even Argo with all the Best Director wins from Ben Affleck. Seeing as everyone in the Best Supporting Actor category has been nominated and has won at least once, it's hard to say who will win it. But we'll lay our chips down with Christoph Waltz simply because the Academy loves him and his Golden Globe win only shows more promise. As much as I hate to admit it, we see Best Animated Film going in the way of Brave, despite the fact that Wreck-It Ralph, Paranorman, and The Pirates are much better in comparison and deserve it a hell of a lot more. However, there is a chance Frankenweenie can take the gold as well. Best Director is anyone's game, but we'll go with David O. Russell for Silver Linings Playbook. Spielberg was never the major reason Lincoln succeeded in the first place, and the rest of the nominees just don't feel like a strong enough bet. For Best Original Screenplay, something tells me that Django Unchained will come away with it. As much as Wes Anderson deserves at least one award, nobody can top the greatness of Tarantino at his finest. And for Best Adapted Screenplay, this one looks to be going to Lincoln, as Tony Kushner truly challenged himself with this script, as it is interesting and truly captivating. We really want to see John Williams win for Best Score, as the man is a mastermind of film music, and Best Visual Effects should go to Life of Pi, as the psychic character of Richard Parker is truly a feat of CGI and real-life combinations. And finally, if Skyfall should win for anything besides for Best Original Song, it should win for cinematography, courtesy of Roger Deakins. The rest of the awards are either so minor, so irrelevant, or so hard to tell, or so easy to tell, we just don't really want to cover them. Overall, it looks to be a very fun night, as long as Seth MacFarlane doesn't recycle jokes from Family Guy. So be sure to tune in on Sunday, February 24th, for the 85th Annual Academy Awards. It's going to be an interesting show with some very interesting wins. Tell us in the comments what movies you think will win and which ones do you want to win, as well as overall predictions. We'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching, because this has been the CinemAttack Newsreel. And remember, every Oscar speech that gets cut off by music, take a shot. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Well guys, that does it for the first episode of CinemAttack. I want to thank Sean and Max for truly cooperating with me and helping me make this show possible, and I also want to thank the rest of the contributors who let us use their stuff and overall helped us make this show the best that it could possibly be. CinemAttack is going to be airing on G1 Features every Saturday, so you can check out new episodes when they air then. But for now, it's time to cue up the title card and end off this awesome episode. Bring it up, guys. If you want to check out more from me, Sean, or Side Smash, you can go to our respective channels by clicking on our respective boxes. You can also follow us on Twitter and check out our YouTube channel as well. And you can go to G1 Features and check out our playlist of all of our episodes, because we're definitely going to be posting them there. And we plan on doing some blog stuff as well, so stay tuned for that. In the description below, there's some credits for you, what footage we used, what music we used, and who did what to make this episode possible. Until next time, guys, click on something.